Hi guys, welcome to the video lesson for elementary curriculum, October 22nd and 23rd, I believe. I hope you guys are enjoying the story of Joseph. Joseph has such incredible truths in it, and it's so neat to see God's faithfulness throughout Joseph's life, that God just is there. He's constantly there, and he's constantly redeeming and saving Joseph from whatever trouble he happens to stumble into. We had a really great lesson last week in Fort Lupton. The kids, I don't think that a lot of them had really heard that part of Joseph's story about Potiphar's wife and why Joseph went to prison. And so it was really great. We talked a lot about how Joseph could have felt, and instead of feeling discouraged and letting his sadness and his frustration, his anger affect him, he still did his work to the glory of God. And because he did that, he was blessed. God protected him, and God blessed him, and not only just blessing Joseph, but blessed Potiphar's entire house. And we see that again in a bigger fashion, right, as we come into the last two lessons of October with Joseph, where he's put into prison. And through that experience, that really hard experience of having to be in prison, God is able to use Joseph's life to bless all of Israel. His family as well. So today you will be talking about that time in prison. So you'll be in chapters 42 through 40 through 42, excuse me. And so you're going to be talking about his time in prison. You're going to be talking about, again, how Joseph did God's glory. He was not unsatisfied or resentful or hateful. Joseph did all that he did for God's glory, and in that process, God was able to bless Joseph and redeem him from that hard situation in prison. And you'll talk about the different dreams that Joseph interpreted and how he gained favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, and ultimately how our story concludes next week, where he's able to save his brothers and all of Israel. So, you're going to start today's lesson with kind of a story fact game. So you'll have these little slips of story facts. There's 7 of them, and you'll give them to groups of kids 4 or 5, and then they'll work together to kind of figure the puzzle out, the story facts starting from the first to the last, and they can tape them onto a piece of paper, and then at the very end, make sure you share the correct story facts so that they, are on the same page with you, because some of the kids might not have been here last week, or some of the story facts might be a little confusing to them. It's a really great way to transition into this part of Joseph's story, because so much has already happened in Joseph's life. We want to make sure our kids are kind of with us as we go into this next stage of his time in prison. So then you do your lesson, of course, and you will have, of course, your blessing and your prayer time. And I want to just take a quick moment to pause about prayer. I know a lot of you guys do prayer journals at your campuses, and that is so awesome. I love seeing our teachers up here do that as well. We've been really focusing on our prayer journals in Fort Lupton this month, because I think Joseph's one of those lessons that it's captivating for the kids to hear, but it's also something that is very applicable, something that they can use and translate into their own lives. So Joseph experienced God's faithfulness, and Joseph experienced that through Joseph's story, we see that we can trust God, that he is faithful, and he will never leave us, he'll never forsake us, and he will never, ever go back on his promises. And so we know that he did that for Joseph, and we see it over and over and over again in his story, his very tumultuous story, and we know that he does it in our own lives. And so one of the ways that we help our kids see God's faithfulness in their lives in Fort Lupton is that we go back over our prayer journals. So if your teachers are keeping prayer journals, maybe if you as teachers are keeping prayer journals, I'm just encouraging you to take a look through them and see if there's a couple of prayers that you can highlight in class this week, and just to show the kids how God moved in their lives. We have a lot of prayers like anxiety over, for example, we had a lot of prayers in September over anxiety for school, and bullying, and not making friends, and problems and struggles with teachers. And so we can look now 6 weeks later, and we can reflect on how God was with these kids, and how he strengthened them and gave them courage and has brought them out of the wilderness, and they're in a very different place now than they were 6 weeks ago. And so it's been a very good way for us to show our kids and encourage our kids in how God is faithful very specifically in their lives, in the very specific details of prayer. So if you have time to do that, I would really encourage you guys to do that. It's been a kind of an incredible experience for our teachers up here to see these kids just totally connect and really just trust God, which is so cool. So you'll end with a craft, which is kind of a simple one. It's just a coloring sheet. It's Joseph's dreams, and it's like a coloring sheet and a fill in the blank. There's some things missing from the dreams, so they can add those in and fill in the blanks. So next week you'll be closing out Joseph's story, and you'll be talking about how Joseph saved for the famine, and how his brothers had to come, and how there was redemption in that relationship. And then you'll also be talking about how Jesus, the Redeemer, is the greatest Redeemer of all. So not only God saved Joseph out of problems, but with Jesus, not only our day-to-day issues can be redeemed, but our hearts, our souls can be redeemed as well. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Okay, if you have any questions, just let your campus director know. Thanks so much.